What's up, everybody? A happy full moon to y'all. 1:09 a.m. South Florida, edge of space. We got our thunder moon in July. Had to hop on for a little bit, even though I am wrecked. I gotta go to bed soon. but I wasn't gonna miss out on a full moon. What's up there, Ellie and Light Moon and AK John? What's happening? So I think it's getting a little clearer. Been watching it for a couple hours, just sitting outside. It was just like a blob. I was pretty sure it was going to start clearing, so got the scope nearby. Had some dinner, and I saw it kind of moving into its southerly position. Hope everybody's had a moontastic day. Definitely intense lunar vibes. What's up, Sabian Geometry? How you doing? Happy full moon to you. Let me read a little bit about what today's moon signifies. Even though it's already passed, but let's see. From the Old Farmer's Almanac. Just checking this out. No, please. I don't want to advertising. Alright, today was the partial lunar eclipse. Says July 16th is an astrologically eventful night, bringing us the full buck moon. I made a mistake. Somebody said thunder moon. Or maybe that's a secondary name. The buck moon and a partial lunar eclipse. Next, a lunar eclipse only occurs during a full moon. Happens when the sun, blah, blah, blah. Where is my almanac stuff? I can't seem to find it. Whatever. Let's just enjoy it. And dig out some tracks from the archives from way back and play them.
Better believe
Yo, yo, what's up there, Vision? CCC, PPP, or in reverse order. Happy full moon. Light moon, you're so kind. Y'all make me feel good inside. This is an old one, Strange Bound. It's from like 2014 when I first started getting into writing.
Is the wolf still on the way? I feel every flow in this direction. I always saw the soul in the forefield. Oh, strange bound mystic couple. Strange bound mystic folklore. Strange bound mystic couple. Strange mystic.
Yo, what's up there, Tom? Happy full moon, brother. So it's buck moon, but it's also called a thunder moon, so it's correct after all. Is the wolf still on the way? I feel all the cruel mind has intention. My late star, all the fall wind is calling. Oh, strange bound lipstick hot. Oh, strange bound lipstick hot. Strange bound mystic couple. I will show you listen. I fuck now. All right. A little bit of an older track, so interesting. I'm still finding my voice. This one's an instrumental from around the same time. Hope y'all are feeling good. I got a little bit of energy. My shoulder is absolutely killing me tonight, but I took some turmeric and I drank some juice. And I got the remedy. What's up there? Rain song. Happy full moon. I feel like it's getting a little bit clearer. So, prediction. Come on, moon. Give us some clarity tonight. Man, it's foggy. It's got that yellow mist. Of course, we got Jupiter and Saturn, but I can barely see them. So let's see what happens. Better than last night, says Tom. Took it outside outside, never took it out of the bag. You're doing a much better job. Oh, thanks. Last night was lucky skies, I gotta say. I went to bed feeling very satisfied with the footage. It almost felt like a full moon night last night, you know what I mean? But this is kind of the after show. It's weird, right? Like, I guess it's a late rising full moon. And typically it gives me a peak early on, and today I didn't see it till like, I don't know, 11? Like I said, it was a blob moon. You know, if I can see it even a little bit, I'm not going to skip the screen. Exactly, turmeric, the cure-all. I swear if I could take more of it, I would. It just, you turn orange after a while. I think the only thing I lack is sleep at this point. There's too much to do in this life. Alright, look at that. A little bit of the fog cleared. Old school light of the moon. Very appropriate. This is labeled version 1, so I think it might have a strange chorus. It's mixed oddly. You know the deal.
I wandered through the streets, far away from a sinking body. Got dragged into this place, back from time and space. I was in line for another party. Till mama little came along and asked me where the hell I thought I was going. I said I got nothing to hide, and nowhere sounds pretty good to me. I'm staying with the dream I make believe in the light of the moon coming down. Don't let it, pretty mama, make you turn around and you depth up your frequency style. Oh, little girl, don't make me turn around. And the best of your sweet summer skies. Oh, little mama, please don't make me tell lies.
Oh, listening deep into the mix. You'll know it's so unlike artists. You know I'm not trying to make a buck out of this music when I show you all the rough cuts. What up, Yo Q? How's it going? Turmeric in a big bag and it leaked on a lot of stuff. I know, man, it's really hard to get out and it just stains everything, but it is really good for your health. Turmeric and coconut oil for toothpaste. That's a good idea. Haven't tried that. I've been using charcoal, which is actually pretty fun. Alright, this mix is kind of driving me crazy just because it's so loud on the background vocal. I'll go to something else. Something that is mixed well. Like this sucker. Man, the bass on this is so heavy. I've never been able to replicate it. But at least I got this mixed down. Alright, musician confession. Sometimes I'll leave a word that you can interpret both ways. You can love other people or all the people. And it just sounded like it could have been either. I think you can interpret the song completely differently if you look at it from that angle. So I just kind of left it in. End confession. Yeah, so charcoal toothpaste is pretty interesting. I've been using it for like a year, and it's just a new experience. And I guess it stains the heck out of your sink. You gotta clean that often, otherwise it just looks like a mess. But yeah, I got this one mosquito been hunting me down all night. I want to let it sting me, but I also don't want to let it sting me. Get out of here. So, little insects that force me to kill them are just really silly. I just don't want to kill them. But they just harass me. Or they're just like mesmerized by the screen, probably. What up, everybody? Just joining. Happy full moon. When you're brushing, your teeth are black, but after you rinse, they're like whiter than they were before with different types of toothpaste. You know, everybody's getting that like Crest and whatever common brand whitening toothpaste. It's the same type of effect, but I don't know, charcoal seems like it's kind of the earth. At the same time, I always keep in mind that could be a completely like contrived marketing scenario, and it might not be doing anything. It could be completely psychosomatic. So keep that in mind. So just for novelty's sake, charcoal and bamboo toothbrushes feel like you're not brushing with plastic and you're not brushing with fluoride. So even if it is psychosomatic, it's actually a positive experience. That's the thoughts on it. Alright, new song. I'm going back to the new stuff just because I like listening to new stuff.
Swirl of the storm, cause of the light, you are the door. Made up of shells, eye of the storm, cause of the love, you are my light. Made up of shells, magnetic light, claws of the force, gracefully fall.
It's funny how I sit here and type, but I can just talk to y'all. Whoa, what's up, SE Sharks fan? How's it going? Happy full moon. I think, is it getting cloudy again? It's just pulling this yellow mist along with it. This is kind of be the view for tonight. It's all good. We got a nice full moon. Didn't miss it. Yeah, so I was gonna just quickly talk about the satellite thing. So I've sat for nights and with Stellarium and the 8-inch and the 6-inch tracking satellites only. And there are just a bunch every single night. I can vouch for that. The thing is, a lot of them are really low on the horizon. A lot of them are actually very high on the ecliptic. So you need to be able to slew the telescope in really interesting angles, difficult angles. And then tracking them is not as simple as, setting your computer or tracking device like we're tracking the moon. I'm tracking the moon with the fork arm mount of the Nexstar. But tracking a solar system object is completely different than tracking a moving satellite, which is like streaking across the sky. I have an old video where that's the one that made it on Secure Team, or rather ended up on Secure Team, that has a ton of views, and it's where I track a light or a satellite or a UFO or whatever for about 10 or 12 minutes as it passes Jupiter. And that was supposed to be this geostationary satellite that's about 10,000 kilometers in orbit around Earth. Yo, what up, Outdoor Corey? Happy full moon. So you do see the ISS buzz across the sky, and it does have the correct shape. I have videos of that. I have a couple of videos, or just one really good one of Hubble, where it also has detail, and it passed exactly where it said it was going to pass, and it was much brighter than other satellites. That's not to say that there are not a bunch of different, what look like satellites transiting through through still shots that I've had, through other streams, and then also the lunar transits, like some of the interesting objects that have passed in front of the moon. Not all of those are ISS, for example. So there are some strange objects out there. But the point is that, whatever they are, it's the common understanding or whatever on Wiki, it's 2,000 to 4,000 satellites, maybe 2,000 proper operation. And you think a lot of those 1,000 satellites are those CubeSats, which are tiny, which is not the ones that I think we see. I think like Cosmos and some of the GPS satellites, ISS, Hubble, these are very large satellites or objects. So that's why they glint strongly, and that's why you can capture them easily. A lot of the other satellites are probably also have technology that might cloak them, or might make them very difficult to see, and coupled with poor visibility in cities. So you wouldn't, you'd think that you'd see them all the time, but in fact, if you really kind of put all those factors together and then looked at the paths of them, you'd see that there are a bunch in the sky, not that many, and that's about the number you'd expect to see given how big the sky is. If you swung the scope around, there's so much area to cover. It doesn't seem like it because we kind of compress it to our eyeball, but we can get off on the entire is the world real story right away, but that's what I think about satellites. There are objects out there that are tracked, that people know about, that other people capture, so there's corroborative evidence. Anyway, those are some thoughts. What's up, Jazz? The ISS footage, you have to take into account that that's from about 200 kilometers up, and most satellites are much higher up than that, 400 to 600, and then 1,000 to 5,000, and then 10,000 to 50, and then some are supposed to be at the Lagrange point, which is 1,000,000 miles out. Now, I constantly debate distances in space, and so I understand people who question that. But if you believe in distance in space, the way it's portrayed, then apparently there are satellites that are very far out that you wouldn't expect to see, really. So, what up, Oksana? How's it going? Z-Proxy, keeping the ufology alive, says these things we see as sats may not be man-made. So I assume you're referring to avian blue aliens from Proxima Centauri, or where are they from? From the Horsehead Nebula. I don't think there are aliens in that way, but maybe it's possible. I'll get proven wrong one day. Let's see when David Astronomy Livestream shows up. I saw the announcement today of the A7R4. So camera fanatics, it's a $4,000 body. And what is it, like 61 megapixels. So I'm sure David already has it on pre-order, but way too rich for my blood. What's up, Constantine? Notifications get turned off. Maybe you already have it, but definitely hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want to get the notification for sure. Even sometimes people have trouble even if they've hit the bell, but that's the kind of new thing. As you look at that, we're getting a bit of clarity. Some of the haze has moved. I think the moon's past the zenith at this point. Z-Proxy, I expect no camera has gone higher than 50 kilometers altitude due to lack of 360 video footage. That's a rabbit hole I care to not go down. I don't know, I've seen, I can't remember the channel. Let me see if I can remember it. I'm gonna think on it for a second. There's a channel that did multiple high altitude balloon launches and had, I don't know if they had 360 video. Anyway, point is, your 360 video guideline or metric is probably hard to achieve. I'm sure somebody's going to throw a 360 camera up there soon. It's just getting cheaper and easier. I'm going to repeat what I said last night, which is what I heard from Alan Watts. And he said this whole idea of, there are two concepts actually. One of them is Earth is not a problem to solve, but an experience to enjoy. And the second thing is, as we look deeper into space, space will continue to get further and further away from us. And as we cut space up into smaller and smaller bits, space will get smaller and smaller and height. So essentially we're playing this giant game of hide and seek, because ultimately we are all the universe perceiving itself through different lenses. And so I think about it like that, and it all kind of falls into place. It allows me to sit here and enjoy the discovery and adventure of lunar geology with my YouTube space family through high-level technology, while also doing some sort of activism, latency, latent activism. I don't know, getting out there, replacing the crappy content. It's my typical rant. Yo, outdoor Corey, be well, be safe, be wise. I mean, Z, ultimately you're gonna have to start launching balloons, man. I mean, that's the next step, of course. You can't wait around for other people to do the job that you need to, you know. If you want the job done right. Constantine says, sometimes I just have the music playing in the background while working, but this channel is my go-to for relaxations. Thank you. That's very kind. This is where I come to relax. Even though it's a physical strain to do the show, my mind is at ease. So we're getting a clear full moon shot after all. 154 in the south, on the edge. Bringing it live all the time. Yo, Q, Conspiracy Voice. We are in a computer simulation, man. The moon is a hologram, man. Let's flip the record, man. Where's this thing? I miss my Mac. Working on this PC is alright, but soon I'll be back there and playing live. This one's good. Dwayne Kellum, thank you, Tom. That's exactly who I was thinking of. That's pretty high quality stuff.
Why don't you give me something to live for, someone to die by? Start to see, start to let the be something new. Oh, what are we gonna do? Fly, tell me if you feel it. The cities of light and vibrational mental field. So your mind is the moon, obey the call. The heart now hears the sun. Someday you're gone. We live the fascination of our heartbeats. Never aboard, never aboard, never aboard. Why don't you try? Oh, don't you try? You somewhere so far beyond. So slow it down. My friends, I know it's hard sometimes.
I had to hop in here for a sec because I was saying moon's a hologram and all that stuff, but more so Tom saying working hard to find out what's really going on. I think the more I think about it in terms of this game that we play as the universe, I think the mysteries are there to enjoy and to kind of solve. You know, this idea that if you solve it somehow, then you'll be satisfied. But look, I have the same feeling, but I wonder if that's just the kind of that energy we go through in life, trying to find that's the will to live, to like discover, uncover things. But that's necessitative in order for us to have this adventure. You know, what would you do without that adventure? So uncovering what the space agencies have done is a very exciting adventure to be on, versus them being this very kind and nurturing space agency, which is what I want. But of course, then it wouldn't be fun, right? I think I'm articulating it all right, or B+, B-, not even. Anyway, let me know if you felt that. I just mean, like, we love this adventure. It's tricky, it's scary, it's dark. Death is at the end of it. Rebirth is at the end of it. And then understanding everything is at the end of it. And you can believe whatever you want. And yeah, just reading from the chat about the moon being a hologram. So I was gonna just jump in and say that I actually don't think the moon's a hologram. But I do think that the moon could be a very thick outer shell that we're looking at right here, comprised of several layers, and then it could be hollow for a good portion of it, and at the very core have some sort of energetic plasmoid, maybe, you know, a center core of energy like a seed or a nucleus, and there's a pressure mediation between the internal pressure pushing outwards on the shell of the moon, and then the pressure of the ether dielectric medium pushing on it from the outside and holding it together. And maybe the moon was birthed where it's at, or from, maybe we captured it, or it captured us at some point, but perhaps it was just birthed from the center, just like the Earth could be, and same thing with all the other planets, which perhaps we can see if it's looking this clear. Oh yeah, you can see Jupiter. So that's what I think. The moon is probably hollow, almost like every atom in our body is made up mostly of space, or rather dielectric medium, and every particular particle has a nucleus, which is where energy is absorbed from what would be perceived as another dimension, but in fact it's just energy from the medium that we're in, which is all of reality, all the universe, and then it's sucked in through the nucleus and spat out through the bottom through a toroidal pattern. The outer shell is probability electrons, creating essentially potential energy by which reality is dielectric medium is converted into reality. Maybe that makes sense. So everything is particles, or particle shaped, in the center of a torus with twisted filaments moving through it. And maybe that's the nucleus of everything. So the center of Earth, center of the moon, and potentially every object, but mostly planetary objects at that size. So they would maintain lightness in the ether. They wouldn't be completely solid rock. And it's very clear that the moon has properties that kind of go all the way around, because we see libration. That's stuff that I've seen. And it really just does look like it's a rocky surface, versus looking at Mars or Venus or Jupiter or Saturn for that matter. You can see that kind of fuzziness. I'll head over to Jupiter in a second anyway. Ellie Wynn says, Pareidolia tonight is awesome. Yeah, I've been kind of staring at it out of the corner of my eye. I'm trying to also think about what I'm saying so I don't sound totally crazy. I must sound totally crazy. Yoki says, haha, love Interstellar movie. It's just talking about that, actually. I think it's kind of rife with propaganda, but that and Gravity. I know I'm not speaking to a crowd that disagrees with me necessarily, but it's not because of, hoaxing, but it's more about like how those movies present space in this really incorrect way. Just all the fire and the sound. I mean, according to physics, you're not supposed to be able to have any of those things. But I've mentioned it before, lots of movies refer to things that actually look like Velikovsky's idea of recent catastrophism. Things like from Thor, tons of stuff in Marvel. They take these ideas of portals and planets being close and laser beams from space and Earth crashing into the moon, Transformers. Just from a distance, I see what these movies partake in deal in partaking. What is TARS? Am I missing something? It's TARS. TARS is from Interstellar, right? It's that robot. Right. Is there like a cult fan base for TARS that I guess I'm out of the loop. Yeah, Tom, right? No, I don't know. I definitely see the programming and coding in movies. That's certainly something that happens. I mean, it's obvious. It's so blatant with commercial news and pop sci, but it's a little more subversive in movies, simply because sometimes the writing and the filming and the kind of special effects will take you and distract you from the fact that the story that's being told is either planted or implied or drilled into your goddamn brain until you feel something. And it can be used for both good and bad, obviously. Anyway, it always brings me back to the same thing, which is create better content, replace bad content, create good content. I just repeat that to myself all the time. Yeah, I don't get the fascination with TARS, I'll be honest. Like, my hot take on Interstellar. Matthew McConaughey obviously is a decent actor, but I don't think he's the greatest actor that ever lived. I don't think True Detective is any hot shit. And honestly, like, I've seen him in a bunch of roles. It's like the same person over and over again. They've typecast themselves at this point, and Hollywood creatives don't want to spend the time really directing. They just tell them, do what you do. People like you as a personality, and they just impose that upon the public. So he's all right. And then what's the story? So TARS is a very cool special effect that happens in that movie. that whole dial back your attitude and that dominating like persona is just like boring. The four-dimensional love space-time continuum where upper dimensional beings helped him convey this message. I thought the ending was, I'm not gonna crap on an artist trying to tell a story that they find interesting, but I will say that with that much money behind it, and I don't know, I feel the truth is it's gonna sound super nerdy and judgmental, but I think money like that should be spent on talking about the moon missions and explaining where we are in space, talking about Velikovsky, Halton Arp, entertaining all sorts of science ideas, teaching people. Like, why are they spending money on making fake space when we actually live in space? It's really one of those weird Twilight Zone parts of life that I've definitely talked about on the show before, but I understand why people feel crazy. So we got a very, very sharp and clear full moon, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. 2:09 a.m. Sabian Geometry, peace out. Have a great night. Appreciate you hanging out. Right, so thank you for reminding me. So I'm really I'm really personally not part of anything like that. I've developed into this mentality where this idea that somehow we're waiting for an extraterrestrial race or an ascended being or an ascended master or a lord or a king or a princess. These arbitrary titles of either royalty or stature that just don't really mean that that person is actually like either good or interesting or cool. Like these measures of popularity, for example, just because the media hypes up things that have clicked 100 million times or songs that have been downloaded 50 billion times, like that doesn't make the song good. And it's in a little way, it's like the whole idea with the Big Bang cosmology versus plasma cosmology. Plasma cosmology is like Alan Holdsworth and Fela Kuti and Bob Marley and Moody Blues, and relativity and Big Bang cosmology is like Miley and all these contemporary pop artists, like basically like Kanye. That's what Big Bang is at this point. It's all this pomp, and when you look underneath the surface of the music or the personality, you find that there's really not much. And then when you look through the filter of this idea of complete interconnectedness, the fact that we look at stars and we see them immediately and not we're looking into the past, so romantic that we're looking into the past, but we're looking at stars right now. There is no past. There's just the now. Hypothetical science is not physical science. And I think at this point, hypothetical thought exercises are fun, but what's novel and much more entertaining is physical observational science with these cool new technologies that we can watch space with. Because holy crap, we live in fucking space. And that seems to be lost on kind of a vast number of people. Eat All Your Fish mentions, didn't a priest think up the Big Bang? I think it has something to do with 440 versus 432. Those I don't really think have anything to do with one another. The 440 versus 432 is also really hard to prove. The Big Bang is just one of those things that can't be proven or disproven because it's really a concept where there can be no witness. So therefore you can keep getting funded until forever. So observational science is different, where you can actually do physical experiments and then match that against a theory or a hypothesis and come up with new ideas. And so science doesn't do that anymore, at least not publicly. There are some YouTube channels that are amazing, that are independent laboratory guys who are teaching people amazing ideas in welding and chemistry, and so it is happening on YouTube, but a lot of those channels don't entertain the idea of plasma cosmology and interconnectedness, and that I think would elevate every single one of those quote physics channels. Well, the whole Schumann resonance and resonance in general is also like time or units of measurement that mankind or humankind put upon nature. So saying something is 432 or 440 is just also as arbitrary as saying anything about space. It's much more, I think, interesting to say, I don't understand it, versus having to apply some sort of idea to it in order to quantify it. This is where quantum mechanics gets its name, quanta is to quantify something. And so there's an obsession with the unification theory, an obsession with finding out everything seconds after the Big Bang. What happened before the Big Bang? Who cares? We're here now as the human race on Earth. Let's take care of that. And science is completely devoid of anything human. It's become completely mythological storytelling and a bunch of mathematicians, foisting their beliefs upon a very susceptible public that sincerely loves space. Yo, what up there, Fantasy Ecstasy? Happy full moon, brother. It just got clear about 30 minutes ago. Still yellow mist, and we got blessed with a great full moon tonight. Looking nice and rocky to the right. Mare Marginis, Mare Undarum, along that cool region. What was that other one? Mare Smithy, and Dorsa Cluse, Langrenus, Fecunditatis. So many awesome regions on the moon. And can y'all see the giant wolf head made out of all the Maria, looking about to eat up Tycho crater? Profile looking left. The wolf and the moon. Eat All Your Fish says, tuning is different from time though, but without time would there be tuning? Exactly. Not just that, I mean, just because we perceive time a certain way does not mean that that's the way time is everywhere in the universe. I think that's that reverse psychology that happened in the last 100 years of popular science papers and articles, where people like Stephen Hawking would say it would be very arrogant to suggest, and then proceed to suggest something arrogant, and therefore an unwitting public would read something like that and think, oh, this guy is a genius. Poor old me, I couldn't possibly understand what he's talking about. So no one questions why he actually just proposed a double negative. And that's where it's about empowerment, where if you look into topics just one or two levels deeper, then you're able to read things about Einstein and Stephen Hawking and have correct or more critical judgment about them. I think that's what's missing from science. or one little part of it. Fantasy says, did I see Saturn on the moon? It was right above the moon yesterday. Yes, I did, in fact. I was trying to show it both in frame last night, but I couldn't. However, after the show, I took a couple of full shots of the moon and Saturn together, as I did the night before, where the moon was flanked by Saturn and Jupiter equally, like a big jet fighter. And tonight, I think Saturn is actually ahead of the moon tonight, to the right, and Jupiter is on its way to the west. Alright, I need to stretch. Man, my back. I was playing some old jams behind me. Les jams rationales. Et maintenant, une chose nouvelle. If I could only find it. I mean, even if he was a mouthpiece puppet for the propagandists, then you still have, the language and those books are used to define the common culture of science. So in order to break rules, you have to know how to understand what exists. In order to replace it, you have to replace it with something that's equally interesting and catchy. And face it, a guy in a wheelchair who survived ALS for 40 years, speaking through one of those talk boxes, idolized by all cartoonists and phony entertainment scientists, propping him up, creates an entity that is formidable. So I think being able to really pinpoint where people are so romantic about Hawking and then explaining why that romanticism is unjustified, is actually very important. we got Saturn coming up. This is still with the wide shot, and it's looking real sharp. Probably switch it up in a second. Yo, thanks Vision, I appreciate you saying that. We live in this world where, I don't know if the word nerd is correct, but having grown up with being enamored with science and space, and then getting to my 20s and realizing like how stagnant contemporary science really was. Actually, in my early 20s, I got into the whole quantum craze. I watched The Elegant Universe and What the Bleep Do We Know? And I was like, oh my god, Matrix, Rabbit Hole, Split Humans, Past Lives. And then it kind of froze for a little bit. There weren't any more movies being made about that. At least not until like, was it Existenz? Or maybe that was earlier than that. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Up until I think I lost track of what I was even talking about. I was just reading the chat and it says Saturn the Saturn the Matrix generator. Anyway, if anybody was interested in what I was talking about, ask me. Got sidetracked. Honestly, when I look at the planets and like try and center an object, my brain goes into this other place where like I'll be talking about something and it completely shuts down the action. I think it's to do with coordination. Thinking about directions with the scope takes over my mind. Anyway. I mean, I enjoyed the theory that Saturn was sort of sending radio waves out to the moon and beaming them to Earth, and somehow when you see that graphic behind David Icke where you think that these 9-foot tall, 12-foot tall Anunnakis, like, who represent basically the American government or like all sorts of governments and control systems around the world, these Anunnaki somehow live on Saturn as the progenitors in the rings, and they beam controls to control humans on Earth through the moon matrix and recycling souls through the moon. And I gotta say, whoever David Icke's publicist was at the time was really deep in either like getting information from somewhere, or was just kind of regurgitating a bunch of, you know, the Philip K. Dick stuff, mixing it up with a bit of Orwell, and then dusting it with a bit of reptile dust, reptile skin. So, I don't know. I really bought into it too. When you really listen to it after looking into plasma cosmology for a few years, and then you go back and listen to David Icke, it just seems so like he's wasting so much time not talking about how we already have very advanced physics on Earth. So, who knows who's duped? Maybe the dupers are the duped. Dupe to dupe. I think lizard people is just, you know, when I grew up, I bet all of y'all who are older than, 30, 40, you remember V. They rebooted V, but I remember as a kid seeing the reptile turn to a human, turn to a reptile, freaking the hell out of me. I was like 5 years old when my parents watched V. And I gotta say, you know, there's like this fascination with human-animal hybrids that everybody has. And further human writings or hieroglyphics, etc., you'll see that obviously our ancestors had this obsession with, you know, replacing heads. All right. So I was talking about V and this obsession with human-animal hybrids, hieroglyphics denoting, you know, the ibis head, the jackal head. I don't know exactly really what the exact connotation is. It feels like we do have a culture that loves masks, persona, and all cultures have different types of masks, and I think we admire animals and therefore we kind of wear animals, and it's both, you know, gratifying and horrifying at the same time. I just thought of it like that, but that's sort of, I think, the simplest way to think about it, because we do kind of, you know, I'm at risk of breaking my own rules when I'm kind of generalizing as the we blah blah blah. I guess I, as a child, had a fascination with murdering insects. And nobody told me different, so I just kept doing it until I felt really bad. But now I have this appreciation for birds, and if somebody made me a dope bird's head for a ceremony, that would be really cool. So I feel like all the hieroglyphics and stuff like that were people really just doing a ton of drugs, ceremonies, under this unbelievable alchemical plasma sky, seeing these planets interact. It must have been like a nightly light show, almost like what we do now by looking at screens. So it's very recursive in terms of what is attractive to the human existence. Right? Eat all your fish, they keep trying to shut down the stream. No, I'm kidding. There is no they. It is just I. It is just you. Culture that also loves math. Hey, what up, Kenneth Cantu? I don't know. I think a very small subset of people actually love math. I think more people idolize people who can do math. That's more what I've seen in our culture, but I could be wrong. I think it's why there's this inequality in discussing advanced topics, because this idea that if somebody knows math, somebody can do long form math with a pencil on a paper, versus somebody who can't, then somehow the person who can do the math is just an overall better and smarter person. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. But I feel like our society implies that that is the case. So I'm here to tell you, you can't trust everything you hear on the internet. Alright, SJ. YoQ says, okay, what does everyone think about the ancient astronaut theory? Why don't you elaborate on that? Because Does that have to do with alien astronauts coming to Earth? Or is it about us having human astronauts thousands of years ago because of the hieroglyphic helmets? What up there, Jim Jones? Alright, we got a little bit of Saturn, but I think I can do better, so I'm going to zoom in. Be right back. 420 equal PPP, that is correct math. A plus, CCC, PPP, XYZ, BRB. Not just, street smarts too, but like, what if somebody's versed in electrochemistry and somebody can do long form calculus, I think that even within interdisciplinary, you see that, electrical engineers don't talk to the physicists, and the biologists don't talk to the chemists. That's sort of what I'm getting at, where like there should be a more holistic, communicative science community, and it just feels like it's implied that we do, but it doesn't seem like we actually learn, or it doesn't seem like scientists who have funding change their programs often enough. Because all these articles, like, Thunderbolts Project does this all the time, and they outline how, I wanted to do it for a long time, just list out all the times that scientists are baffled or surprised or puzzled or have to go back to the drawing board in all these phys.org and space.com and sky.buzz and Huffington Post and all these terrible sources of information present astronomy in this really vapid and insulting way. And it's interlaced with a ton of this crap like tabula and outbrain garbage, links that are there to distract you from reading anything. So ultimately, science articles now are extremely insulting, tiny, vapid, and really refer to nothing. However, the point that I was trying to make is that Thunderbolts Project outlines all these different topics, for example, like dirty snowball, sending a craft to the comet and seeing that it's filamentary plasma and a rocky body, and not changing immediately. Like, that's just insane. There's no reason for that not to happen, and especially if they're spending tax dollars on space missions that are actually going to a damn asteroid or comet. That's really important. So the findings lead to the fact that comets are not dirty snowballs or sublimating ice or have internal cores or any number of things. And you literally have a picture of plasma and you can't change the science behind it, then it's really not science. That's the truth. So I don't know, and it kind of bugs me that like it's not treated that way, but the show is all about chilling out, so no bugs. No bugs. Although I let the mosquito bite me twice and now it's gone. I shall live with the pain. Let's jam on. Puffington roast, am I right? dude? How's it going? So, got a little bit of Saturn, but I think the mist has returned, and my tracking is atrocious. Whoa, lower that a little bit. Chill out, track. Okay, Mosquito, you're done. Damn it. Alright, popped in the 3X, trying to get a closer look at the chronosphere. But yeah, I only lunar tracked tonight, so it's a bit rough. Yeah, pretty hardcore drift. I thought it was going to be a little bit better, but as soon as I switched up the lens, the new clouds just moved in. Very like thin sheet. We shall see. Unless my focus is off, but no, that's coming. I need a little snack, y'all. I'm going to switch to the wide shot for a moment, and I'll be back. bearing with me. That took me a second because Jupiter is about to set underneath the tree line, and also it's behind like a building, and also the reticle that I use to find the finder scope is basically pointed at my door frame. So I was basically going blind, trying to just really try and find Jupiter with the ISO all the way up, and luckily got a quick shot for us. A few minutes before it's setting, it's really right there on the line. Pretty happy. Instinct kicked in, just kind of aligned it by feel, or just tried every possible combination. Alright, I'm gonna figure out which moons these are. It was behind clouds for so long that I wasn't sure we were gonna get Jupes tonight, but lucky. It's still high up, but to me it's right at the tree line in the west. So top left, Callisto, then Ganymede, Io, and then the one on the right, Europa. And can't see that little star, but there's a magnitude 7 right next to them. Little new jam right here. What up, Cosmic Surfer? Happy full moon, good morning. Did not catch the eclipse. I don't think it was in my southern area. But I think Z Proxy was trying, but it was clouded out. Yeah, so Jupiter's about to set. Losing the view here. Gonna switch it back to the moon for a little while. So, I was just trying to find this particular location. Yo, what's going on, Paul Rustin? Welcome to the channel. Ooh, little birdie transit? Or was it something else? A little transit coming up. The little bright white spots on the moon are different patches of the moon that have either one or many things going on. It's speculated that these transient lunar phenomenon are due to a few different ideas. So one is outgassing, different types of elements and gases on the surface of the moon react. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Actually, that was not a bird, I don't think. So either meteor or satellite noted at, let's see, 30 something. Why can't I zoom in? Okay. Alright, let me know if y'all caught that. Otherwise, I'll make a little clip of it. I can't seem to find it back again. Just less than a minute ago. So it's about to jump in and start talking about this feature that follows the pointed kind of inlet of Sea of Serenity, which is the main Mare right in the center of the screen. Oh, I completely got sidetracked. So I was talking about the transient lunar phenomenon, the hot white spots, either being, high peaks, glinting sunlight, off-gassing of particular elements on the moon's surface, electrostatic dust, ionization of certain aspects of the surface. And all of those would contribute and also react to solar radiation. That's my opinion. Which is that it's a combination of several of those. Or something else entirely. Damn. That's insane. It just got clear, It's crazy. Cosmic says the moon is well into waning already. Let me see, I think, is it 99? 99.6. Indeed it is. I'm trying to zoom out on the live image. Yeah, I'll make a little clip. It was very fast. Crossed only the quarter of the frame. Yeah, so back to where I was trying to peek at this feature, and this is it's called Mare Humboldtanium. Very complicated word. No, Humboldtianum. And that's the kind of darkened portion that's right on the edge of the moon. If you follow the kind of pointed snout of Mare Serenitatis. So I'm going to try and zoom in there and we can take a look. Yo, thanks Norwegian Flavor. Appreciate it. Damn, more mosquitoes than usual. Because it's high activity right now. God damn it. Alright. So Mare Humboldtianum. We gotta zoom in. This is the region I'm talking about. So this is a very cool feature that we're seeing particularly on this phase. Mare Humboldtianum, large flat-faced mare, which is similar to the ones we see like Mare Crisium and Mare Nectaris. It's one of the smaller ones for sure, but it's quite elliptical in this view. God damn. Hunter instinct kicked in for this mosquito, and I'm just like so distracted. All right, all good. Mare Humboldtiana. Damn. And then to the left of that, it's not as dark, but it's definitely one of the darker regions to the left of that. That's called Endymion crater. So I'm going to follow the trail upwards. The next feature is kind of a side view of what looks like a tall-walled crater. And that, my friends, is Belkovich, I believe, or is it Hain? It's either Belkovich or Hain. For some reason the atlas is a little bit different. It still looks really cool. Love the edge detail. Yeah, difficult to make out the small details. So, man, 3:12 a.m. Starting to get a little bit tired. I think I might call it soon. Just like it to get really sharp. Have I seen any of the Bruce footage? I have not. I have enough scope envy and moon footage to watch with my own stuff. I don't know. It's tough. Like when you do your own moon footage, I find it hard to watch other people's moon footage unless there's some sort of event. Also, I'm not really looking for UFOs on the moon, so I kind of avoid that topic. So it's going in and out of focus, but man, it was looking beautiful. Got a lot of Oceanus Procellarum, Mare Imbrium in view. Aristarchus kind of amazing pareidolia with the darks and greens from top from Mare Frigoris above Sinus Iridum. Just kind of trying to imagine what's beyond the horizon. Anyway, Cosmic, anything interesting in that footage that I should be aware of? So I did see a great diagram today that showed the extended plasma sheath of Earth and how the moon could enter this plasma sheath and how it is basically a double layer. And maybe I'm completely far off on that, but it really looks like that could be the lunar wave phenomenon. Yeah. Simple answer. Moon passing into the atmosphere and out of the atmosphere. And sometimes you catch it and sometimes you don't. And same thing, probably Jupiter maybe being close and Jupiter passing through or interacting with the Earth's atmosphere. That being because of the Jupiter wave. Really fancy gear and like the best cameras and stuff like that, but then at the same time it's kind of like eating all the cake as opposed to getting there slowly. Yo Q says, what would happen if somehow a nuke hit the moon? Well, in popular science, apparently a couple of things like a nuke, and including a nuke, hit the moon at certain times and certain places. Of course, there's no actual footage of it happening or anything that looks believable, but it's possible. What would happen? It depends. It depends on what you think a nuke's capability is in space. Or whether it would shatter. Maybe it would just bounce off and nothing would happen. Just because the moon doesn't have a really visible atmosphere doesn't mean its magnetic kind of shell is not extremely powerful. Exactly. Cosmic thinks that the nuke would just go through some sort of screen and then the next screen and the next screen. Although, physically the moon, the image of the moon in terms of optics is being transmitted through the shells, the electromagnetic shells of Earth. Strange how my PC sometimes does things without me. It randomly adjusts volume. Yeah, so the image of the moon is being essentially projected from the moon, but I think the image just appears on top of the shells around Earth, and we look at those shells and see the moon. So everything sort of coincides at some point or another. The heat waves are certainly from Florida, because I'm cooking right here. The heat waves are literally from my laptop. Laptop waves. So I'm going to take a quick look at Saturn. opinion on lunar waves. I just mentioned that actually. I was saying that I think that every planet, every object, human, otherwise, has magnetic shells of resonance around their center core. And if the moon has shells of magnetism that affect optics and heat and radiation, and the Earth has those shells, when the moon interacts with the Earth, then you're going to get these kind of interacting ripple waves, like transverse waves on the ocean current. And they're very distinct, sharp waves because plasma currents are electric in nature, and they break and then reconnect. And so I've captured 3 lunar waves and 1 Jupiter wave, and they all have the same signature, which is very pulse-like and almost seems electric. So that's my explanation for it. I don't know what other people think necessarily, but I've listened to most of the theories, and it seems like that could be something, and I could also end up being wrong. But pretty sure it's not. Airplane trails, like 90% sure. 100% sure it's not a camera effect. 99% sure the moon is not a see-through hologram being projected from Antarctica by Nazis. But who knows? Could be. Could be. Yeah, Cosmic was right. Moon's already waning. You can see it on the right. So we're seeing the full moon transit out. Nice sharpness. I was going to go over to Saturn, but it looks like Saturn got all the mists from the moon. I saw there was a recent show I mentioned that Crow did about the lunar wave with Jason Lindgren and a couple other people. He took a bunch of different footage and they talked about it. If you're interested in like recent discussion, but I don't think they mentioned anything about plasma sheets. I would be curious to see what Thunderbolts Project people like Eugene Bagachov or Walt Thornhill thought about the lunar wave. It's actually pretty funny how ironic that certain crowds treat Thunderbolts like pseudoscience and conspiracy, and that also Thunderbolts in and of themselves treat other conspiracies like they're lesser. And so there's this cascade of my conspiracy is better than your conspiracy. But I still say it seems like makes a lot of sense. Looking at this moon's surface, you can see all this scarring, and to imagine what proximity the moon had to be in with the Earth or whatever other body to create all these scars on the surface. What an incredible story and visual. For me, the joy is the adventure of observation. Like capturing cool things is also great, but then it's really just on to the next thing. The fact that it's streaming really is the fact that it's right now. It's as now as anything is on Earth, except for people who are ahead of us. But that's neither here nor there. Arbitrary is arbitrary. Get to the end of this jam. Yeah, that's sharpness. Alright, y'all. I think this last couple minutes, call it a night. This has been a fun streak of shows. I appreciate everybody hanging out, doing that space jam, walking that space walk, talking that space smack. Will I ever stream in 1080? You mean revert to 1080? Or maybe I'm not sure what you mean. I think you can switch it just to 1080 right now. Appreciate all of y'all. Have a great day tomorrow. Might take a day off from streaming. Rest those tired muscles. Be kind to one another. Be polite. Stay wise, Space Fam. Shout outs to people who stayed with me. Paul, FE Dude, Vision, Triple C, CCC, Tom, Yo Q, Ellie Wynn, Cosmic Surfer, Z Proxy, and let me know if I missed you. Kenneth, appreciate it. SJ, oh, Arwin, so sorry I missed you earlier. If you're still here, welcome, and I hope to catch you on another one. Oh, sorry about that, man. I didn't know you were really talking about... Yeah, it is in 4K, actually, so like you should be able to downsample. It sucks that you can't get it at higher res. Yeah, the carrier bumping you down. shout outs Imagine. Thanks again, everybody. As she drifts off, we flip it. And I'll see you soon.